See Windsor West MP joining us this morning. Okay, let's get into, really what has been, I don't know if it's been your main focus, if that's fair or not. It's almost been our main focus for you, though, the Ojibwe National Urban Park and Bill C-238. There was some news that came out last month about the Essex Terminal Railway, and that connects Windsor to Amherstburg through LaSalle. Everybody knows, I think, if you live along the tracks, where they are and things like that. And they fall within the coordinates of the Ojibwe National Urban Park. How is this causing some concern now?
I think it's a good example of some of the fear factors that are putting in front of our bill and trying to get this done right. And what happened was that they made a submission to the House of Commons Senate committee. So it wasn't just a statement in the media. It wasn't just something out in the public. They actually made an official statement to the committee that's examining this, saying that their operations would be affected. And that was despite the fact that I had actually talked with Tony, the CEO, on the phone and asked him to call me if he had any further concerns and didn't do that.
And actually, how long ago was that? I'm sure that was a while ago.
It was a while ago. And so it created quite a storm because it created the fear factor that's out there. And, to answer it really quickly, is that they're not affected at all. Actually, parks across Canada, including national parks, have rail in them. But something led them to actually make the claim that they're going to basically be shut down, they're going to have economic harm, there's all these concerns, and they made official representations that are erroneous. And so I corrected the letter and the situation and sent it back to them. But I want to make sure I'm unclear to the public here is that there is no concern whatsoever. In fact, the rails operate in parks right now, municipal, provincial, federal. They continue to do so on a regular basis. And there's a section 15.1 in the legislation that I'm trying to ensure that actually gets passed, that they're guaranteed to have that access. But despite all that, there was this thrown out story that they have concerns about the economic harm it's going to create across Canada. And this is sadly after they've received tens of millions of dollars of public money for a railway at a time when you'd have to be really suspect in terms of why they'd be receiving public funds whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, the Essex Terminal Railway, and they ship lumber and steel, agriculture, liquid petroleum gas, other industrial sectors. And,
all that'll continue.
That's going to continue. This is not like the urban park, Ojibwe National Park is not going to shut this kind of thing down, and they're going to have to reroute the trains and all that stuff. Like you said, this happens in parks all over the country to begin with.
It happens in Jasper. It happens in Banff. It happens in all kinds of places. It happens right now because they have their railway in basically City of Windsor parks right now. And in fact, one goes by a high school, and there's other places as well. So it was really, but I think it's important for me to talk about this publicly because it was put out by the media and it was put out by the CEO of ETR that this is a concern, a problem, and they should be aware of the dangers that it poses on the Canadian economy for building a small urban park, which is so significant for all of Canada.
Right.
And I just find that unacceptable in this day and age.
Why now, though? Because you said you reached out to them a while ago when this was all happening. Why now has ETR, the Essex Terminal Railway, brought up these issues at this, what seems to me, very late hour?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. And that's the question that I think they should have to answer to the public because they've received public money for their projects and they have brand new offices and brand new equipment and brand new things based upon the public. And that's why I'm going forward with this because they need to explain themselves to the community, in my opinion. And, this has been done as well, too, with Windsor Salt. They haven't responded to the claims that we would actually be undermining the salt mine operations. What we understand and what we've done the research is that they aren't affected at all as well. All these things can continue if we build a national urban park and they're not affected. And they're going to continue to have operations where they need to have operations, and where they're not needed, they won't have them. So my concern here and why I'm raising this is that we have a fight here to get this done right. We have a chance here, and the best way I can describe this is that we're getting the new Gordie Howe Bridge built this month. It'll be connected, and then it'll be opened up in the next year. And we fought against the DRTP. Remember that the rail
Oh,
tunnel?
God,
That went,
wow. It feels so old. That's a
Yep.
long time ago, it feels like.
We fought against that. We fought against twinning the Ambassador Bridge. Yes, we would have actually had a new border crossing, but instead we're getting the right crossing, and we're getting it done properly. And that's what the fight about the urban park is right now. Do we get it done right, or do we just get it?
Right. Where are we at this point now with them bringing up these issues? Are we in any kind of trouble of seeing something happen to the park?
Yeah, we are, in the sense that we have to come together and make sure it's done right. So it's kind of like whack-a-mole, and this is why I'm raising this. Is I dealt with this internally for a while in terms of how the ETR and their manager, called me personally. We had the conversation for 40 minutes on the phone. I sent them all the information. Then later on, they make a submission to the Senate without telling me, complaining that there's a risk here when it's not. There's actually, my legislation protects them stronger than the actual public policy that the federal government is working on. And this is the thing that people have to understand, is that there's two things that are going on. There's my legislation that is a true tested way of actually creating parks, and how Point Pelee was created, how all the other parks were created. We fold that in together, and it becomes basically equal. Then there's a public policy the government's doing now with urban parks, where they, quote, testified and said that we're trying to build, paint, and fly the plane at the same time, where it doesn't exist right now, where they're trying to actually do that. What I've tried to do, and what I'm doing right now, and I'm working with the minister directly on this, is fold them together to make even a better option for everybody.
What minister do you have to work with?
Minister Guilbeault,
Okay.
from Minister of Environment. So I'm working actively with them to adapt our legislation to a certain degree, but also to kind of convince them is that their legislation, which doesn't have the protection and have the other features, and they don't even have that right now. If you ask for that policy, you can't get it, because they're just making it up still right now. They're just trying to deal with it. So I'm trying to melt the processes together. But if we don't do this, Parliament time is winding down, and we're going to miss this huge opportunity if we don't get sharp on this right now. So that's what's going on. And the Essex Terminal Railway was a great example, though, in terms of, I have no idea where this came out of.
Right.
I have no idea what's behind it, but they just received a massive amount of public money. At the same time, they made claims that are not true. They're not factual. They won't harm anything. And I want to make sure, though, that as Member of Parliament for Windsor West, and this being a bill that I've worked on for many years, and also this issue I've worked on for a decade, people know the truth.
Okay,
And
I just have a
pull together.
minute left, so I just want to get this in. MP Eric Kuzmierczak, is he aware? Mayor Drew Dilkins, are they aware of this issue?
The mayor is aware, and yes, and MP Kuzmierczak as well too. And there's been nothing but support I've received from the city of Windsor on this on a regular basis all the time. The city of Windsor has been terrific on this. In fact, they have been a stalwart in terms of how actually to advance this. Their property is most of the property that I'm dealing with. It's all public property. And so some have said that we have private property. Well, it turns out the private property we have is like a fence post. It's like a back corner of something. It's like accidental errors of the way that you go about doing these things, and that can all be eliminated. So I'll just tell you this much, is that the city of Windsor has been terrific.
Okay. Could this all blow up?
Yeah.
Completely. Like we could just, the whole urban park that we thought it was all done, it was all planned, it could be completely scrapped?
Absolutely.
100%?
Look at the province of Ontario, where they had to fight to keep the Greenbelt, and they had to actually keep part of the Rouge. So if you don't have legislation, it doesn't provide the protection for the future, and all of this can be for naught, or we will get something substandard, and I don't want that. Again, that's why I referenced the border, is that we're getting a brand new border crossing, the Gordie Howe International Bridge, which is publicly owned, publicly financed, and publicly accountable, versus that if we could have had twin the Ambassador Bridge or run the DRTP right through the heart of South Windsor. Yes, we would have had a new border crossing, but it wouldn't have been good for us. And that's where we're at with this border crossing, with this urban park, is that we want it to be done properly. And I believe the people of our area need the same equity and the same treatment as Point Pelee and as Jasper and as Banff, because we have 550 endangered species in our own backyards.
Right.